So welcome everybody. Good day at this with this webinar, how to prioritize sustainability in a rapid changing IT world. We're here today at Fairbanks in Baarn, the Netherlands, and we're here to share the sustainability story of Fairbanks. And they've chosen to start using more green versions of IT to become a more sustainable organization, and they promised us to share their story with us. So we're here today for that first part of the story. I'm going to introduce everybody real quick, and then we'll start with this webinar. First, Matthijs Harmsen, lead. Sorry.
No, I said hello. Hi.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good. You're a lead sustainability at Fairbanks. Then David Heikamp, you're the initiatiefnemer.
Yeah, initiator.
The initiator of Green IT at Naturalis. Then Roosmarie van Leeuwen, sustainability lead at Sprints and Sneakers, or maybe even impact lead, right?
Yes, thank you.
Welcome. And Ruud Harmsen, founder of Fairbanks. All right.
Hi.
David, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about Naturalis and what you see in biodiversity, why sustainability is becoming such a thing for organizations.
Naturalis is the Netherlands Biodiversity Center. So basically we do everything related to biodiversity. So a lot of people in the Netherlands know Naturalis for its museum. We have a big natural history museum, especially popular with kids. But we basically manage the natural history collection of the Netherlands, with a big part from Indonesia, for example, a biodiversity hotspot in the world. And we do a lot of research related to biodiversity. And biodiversity is under threat. We live in the Anthropocene, and there is currently a mass extinction going on. So it's kind of urgent that we look for ways to prevent that. And there's also a big relation to climate change, because climate change is known to be a big cause of loss of species and biodiversity.
Even in a small country like the Netherlands, we see a lot of that happening at the moment.
Yes, well, in the Netherlands it's a big debate how to preserve nature and biodiversity. We live in a dense country, and biodiversity is under pressure.
Yeah. All right. So good reason to do more with less. So good topic for it today then, I guess.
Indeed.
Ruud, can you tell us a little bit more about Fairbanks before we start?
Of course. Fairbanks International Group has two companies, Fairbanks and 42ONE. Both are companies who are building private clouds for large customers who really wants to have a private cloud instead of going to hyperscalers to use their cloud technology. Because they, a lot of them want to own their data, and that's why one of the reasons they decide to come to us.
Okay.
Like Naturalis, David, I really appreciate that you are here and want to share your story with us. And of course, I'm proud that Fairbanks can be your supplier. It was one of the questions we received from Naturalis. Fairbanks, can you build for us a private cloud based on open source technology? That's what we did a couple of years ago, and we're moving on. And so again, I'm proud you're here.
Yeah, we're really happy with the support of Fairbanks. We run a lot of open source technology for research and making the biodiversity information public. And we're happy to use the private cloud technology Fairbanks supports for us.
It's, I guess, really well suited, right? The flexibility you get from open source for research and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's also it fits our philosophy. For example, open data is an important part of our policy, but also in research, being able to reproduce research is an important topic, and we think open source really fits that policy.
Okay, all right, thank you. So for everybody listening, you might have a lot of questions about the details that we'll talk about today, because you'll find out it's not that straightforward to build a more green IT environment. A part of our team will be in the chat available to answer any questions that you have. So yeah, leave whatever you want there, and if we don't have time to answer them all, we'll get back to you later. Okay, so IT is obviously growing. It has more and more impact on the number of greenhouse gases being put out into the world. So Matthijs, can you tell us a little bit about how digitization is the correct one, right?
Yeah.
Digitization is changing and changing our world, but also has an impact on our environment. Yeah.
Well, it's changing. It's growing really fast. A lot of people that are using their telephones, applications, but also with the come of AI, like ChatGPT, and you see that the more we are diving in that type of technology, the growth of data centers and the amount of servers being used, which causes more emission, more energy usage. So that's what we see a lot, that it's growing, and that it's growing fast. And they calculate a growth of about 20% every year until 2030. So that's a lot.
Okay. And I think it's also a little bit part of the solution, isn't it, Rosemarie?
It is for sure. So what we know is that technology is part of the innovation that we need to solve those bigger problems. And that's also something which is interesting, because looking at the technology and the increase in technology, it always comes with the impact for those technologies. So for example, if we are looking at the food chain, for example, we know that a lot of technologies do have ways to improve the problems over there. But if we are using more technology, we also use more energy, and we need to look at alternatives and other ways to, for example, use servers, use data centers, and also how we use our infrastructure to make this also more sustainable and less negative impacted.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, we can't live without it, but we can try to do it better, right? So what was your trigger, Ruud, to start this journey?
It's interesting what we are talking about, because that's for us as a builder of cloud technology, that it's really a contradiction, because you see that other markets and other companies ask, if we want to do something about it, IT can solve it for us, as what Matthijs is saying. If you look AI, for instance, but a lot of other technologies. If you go to your heating system in your house, it's completely digital, and you can see everything what to do about the heating in your house. But at the end of the day, it costs a lot of data. So for us, it's really difficult to talk about that contradiction. And that was one of the reasons I started within the company thinking about we have to do something about it. We are in the IT, we build clouds. I don't own data centers. I'm not building hardware infrastructure. But for us, it's really important that when we start the discussion and when we can think about possible solutions, that we can at least bring something into the discussion to help other companies, to help ourselves, but at least to help the world.
Yeah, I can fully relate. I mean, we're in IT as well. Obviously, we partner from platform. Obviously, it sometimes feels that you are causing a problem, but there's no real way out at the moment. You still need servers, you still need energy. It's something that is hard to solve, I guess, right? So.
What also is interesting is that Holland, for example, is one of the countries who is very straightforward on reaching those goals, talking about energy efficiency. But then again, we know that if it's such a big solution, they also need a solution to be more aware of how we use the energy, if it's still green.
Yeah.
I think it's about like finding the sweet spot between the amount of servers we use and the energy it's consuming, and how more efficient or more productive things can become with the technology and AI, for example.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. David, you are part of the greening IT team at Naturalis. How did you guys start your journey? I mean, I think everybody expects that Naturalis is giving this focus, but it's not for everybody using IT normal to really focus on sustainability as well.
No, yeah, like as Naturalis, we IT is just one part of the story, of course. So we have a green team that is company-wide, and we started, I think, a year ago, and basically with a focus on just applying sustainability fixes and trying to improve not just IT, but anything related to what we do. For example, real estate, energy use to conserve the collection, etc. But of course, sustainability has been a part much longer in our work.
Yeah, of course.
We do research. I mean, our researchers do research on climate change and the effects on species, and the other way around. But the journey for focusing on the way we work,
Green operations.
Is just a year ago, I think.
Okay. What was the trigger? I mean, of course, everybody expects that you focus on working in a green way, but there's a lot more to do to really know your impact and to make the choices part of your daily work, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the trigger, Naturalis has been the realization that we can't just do research and be done with it and then present it to the world and expect everyone to kind of change based on data. So our philosophy is really to help our visitors realize basically the beauty and the value of nature, and then have them open up to and see the value of that, and then change their behavior or decisions, etc. And then support that with scientific research. But I think as an institute, we have been realizing that sometimes we need to make a more straightforward message to the public as well. Mm-hmm. So I think that was the reason to also kind of focus again on the way we do our operations ourselves as well.
Okay, all right. So how did this journey start for Fairbanks? What was you woke up one morning and said, we're going to do things differently, and then what happened? I mean,
well, it's not based on a morning. Of course, I visit a lot of customers internationally. There I hear a lot about ideas, and then I think it was more than a year ago, 1.5, I think, we start to work with Sprints and Sneakers. They are really into sustainability with their customers, and they pushed me forward and say, okay, Ruud, if you want to work with us, then we have to think about your role if we talk about sustainability. And I said, well, I'm interested for a long time already, but it's difficult, and that's what we are here about today. It's difficult to start. Where do you have to start? Yeah. And then I met Rosemary. We had a lot of discussions together, and then you have to create a plan, and that's what we did. And then you can move forward. And first, of course, I had to to discuss it with the management team. It can be my decision, but I think you have to do it all together. So first of all, in the management team, to have the discussion about my ideas together with Rosemarie. And then you go into the organization. And the nice part of that is when you start a discussion with your colleagues, I was really emotional about their ideas, what we can do on sustainability. I never had a clue that everybody is busy with it. Everybody is thinking about how to do it at home, how to do it in the office, etc., etc. So I was really surprised, and that keep us with the team motivated to make goals and realize them. That's actually what we want to do.
So starting was a no-brainer. You had partnerships where people are focusing on pushing you further, but your team was doing the same.
Well, in their mind. So everybody was thinking about what can I do by myself, something about sustainability. But to do it as a company, you have to create a plan, do it all together. And there came Rosemarie, and she helps us by moving forward. And I think that's important, that you find other people, other companies. That's why we are having this talk, to let other listeners know that you can do it on your own, but it's better and more fun when you do it together and realize goals, talk about goals. Well, that's
you
that's
can
what it is.
probably make more impact together as well, and it's also a problem for us all, I guess.
Yeah, but if you see Fairbanks as a company who builds private clouds for companies, we have Naturalis. They are busy in biodiversity, and we're working close together. Mm-hmm. And if we can work together also in the future as a partner, and we can move up and start discussions, find solutions, I think that's what helps.
Okay, interesting. So how does such a plan work? Where do you start?
You start by insights, to gather insights and to share insights with others. So that's also what we did. We started with conversations, discussions, as you already said, and sometimes a little friction, but that's fine, because I believe that if you find the point where there is friction, you also understand better where you stand for. So yeah, for you as a leader in the business, also with other people in the leading team, it was very important to also be an example for others. So, for example, when we had this moment of co-creation with the other team, and when we heard them talking about what they think is important and what they think is important for them as an individual, I believe if you gather insights and then share insights with others, so for example, me with you, you with the team, that's the starting point. But that's the first step out of 5. So you start with sharing insights, and then the second one is creating an internally driven team. So having support within the team. So having insights, having support within the team.
Can you share a little bit on the insights that you need? Maybe make it a little bit more concrete so that the listeners understand what kind of insight they need to look for.
Yeah, for sure. So, for example, we went on a co-working moment in France, and then we shared the status of the world. So, for example, we know that energy accounts 73% of the total global greenhouse gases, which is also relevant in the topic of the environment which the team is operating in. But on the other hand, we also not only shared insights, but also gather insights. So, for example, what drives people within the team to have some sort of movement in their life? So, for example, how do they think about their legacy? How do they move their children? How do they think about next generations? And it's not only about like sharing insights that I think are important. It's really about like finding sweet spots within your team, like a big company or a smaller company, and then create a better understanding of what drives people.
Okay,
So it's not only about like sharing insight, but also like asking the right questions to get a better understanding.
so can I say that it is about insights that are important to create compelling reasons to start?
Yeah.
So things around the world, your place in it, that is, to something that will help drive the team that you're going to create.
Yeah, for sure. So advice to other people at home: don't be shy to not be so specific at the first moment. So, for example, we also discovered that during the co-creation sessions and also sharing more knowledge with each other, we got more to the topics which is very specific for the company. So, for example, green cloud or green coding, which is very specific. And also then we discovered that the team members were very enthusiastic about how they can collaborate and how they can add some value on these topics, because it's also in their work environment. So can be different areas: personal life, work environment, but also like in the end it's about like sharing insights, but also create some common sense and common beliefs on what sustainability means for you as a person. Yeah.
How did that move you, Matthijs? What insights triggered you to become part of the team?
Well, I think like Ruud is very inspiring in when he has a certain goal and with this coming with sustainability and making positive impact. That was for me already a reason to join the team, because, well, the conversation we were having, like we needed more hands to actually make this mission one worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me that was one of the things that like got me into this role. And I think an insight that is maybe an insight you create after you start. So after the first insights you created, as Rosa-Marie mentioned, is then actually figuring out what emissions you make as a company yourself, to create a better understanding of how to move forward and what steps to take to either reduce and make the first steps to be more sustainable.
Okay. And David, did you also have such insights that made you want to join the Greening IT team at Naturalis?
Sustainability for me is kind of a main motivator and interest as well. And that's the case for a lot of people that work at Naturalis. But still, we've written an advice for our management team, and basically part of the advice was also to kind of really start that discussion. Okay, why would you want to be more sustainable? That sounds like a really easy thing to answer.
Open door, no-brainer.
An open door.
Yeah.
But we think it's really important to really think and discuss that issue.
So the insight was obviously clear at Naturalis as the one that is working on biodiversity, obviously. But you also made the second step that Rosemary just shared with us, creating a team. Could you tell us a little bit about the green team at Naturalis?
Yeah, so the green team is a company-wide team, so that covers IT, but also real estate, facilities, research, collection, etc., the lab. And we've been working as a team for about a year now. And basically we've been focusing on collecting ideas and making some concrete steps. And apart from that, we've written an advice for our management team to basically start the process of discussing why we want to be more sustainable and to develop a more concrete sustainability policy long term, with concrete goals, etc.
Nice.
David, is it a request from the management team to come up with an idea, or is it from the green team?
No, the initial setup was that we would focus not on policy but just on concrete steps. But we felt that's nice and working pretty okay. But for long-term progress, we felt we needed long-term policies and support from the management team, and to kind of embed the sustainable way of working in basically the way we work and the way we report on progress. So that's why we've written an advice.
Interesting.
Okay. So one of the main ways that a lot of organizations are working on sustainability is by adding some of their value or some of their or investing in sustainable development goals. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, Matthijs?
Yeah, well, I think we did the same. We invested some time in thinking about what sustainable development goals would suit us, and then create also a goal that fits with the sustainability goal. So for us as a company, what can we do with these? And I think we picked three. Clean energy was important for us, climate action, and also partnerships. From being a company working in the open source field, which community driven, I think that's also really a force behind what we're doing and why we're doing this.
Partnerships is in your DNA, right? Yeah. All right.
Can I add something there?
Sure.
Yeah, so the Sustainable Development Goals are 17 goals set by the UN, and what is very interesting is that it's also a very nice framework, but you can also use different frameworks. So for example, if you want to become a B Corp company, or you want to be more over the supply chain, so for example, can't find the word. So you can use the SDGs as a framework, which is very nice. B Corp, circular, that was the word I was looking for. So there are different ways to set your strategy. And for us, it was very important to do something with the goals because it's also a really good motivator and inspirator. So looking back at the process, if you look at insights, creating insights, the SDGs have also a lot of targets. So you can share a lot of knowledge about the SDGs, which is very interesting. And then go further with the steps. So you have like the insights, then you have like the internal support, then you build up the strategy, build on, for us, the SDGs. Could also be the B Corp assessment, which also had a lot of policy, which you can use as an inspiration. Building a more circular product, for example, depends on the business that you're in. But for us, it was the SDGs.
Which was very interesting because and it wasn't done in a moment because you have to really look at all the SDGs to find out what fits the best for us and where can we realize positive impact if we want to move on. So that's I think it took a couple of months in the discussion to find out which SDGs fits the best for Fairbanks International Group, and then make a plan, create the goals, because without doing that, you can start a discussion and then it moves on, it moves on.
So one of the things that our listeners are probably wondering about is how do you start to create a strategy? Because creating awareness, finding a team, ensure that the organization jumps into this idea and supports it is obviously very important. But one of the hardest parts is to decide on how you are going to become more sustainable, to choose that strategy.
It is. But there is a partnership for us together with Sprints and Sneakers, and especially Rosemary, who has a lot of knowledge in this type of business. It's very interesting because you need a spokesman together with a listener to find out where's the best fit, creating arguments, why do we have to do that, what is your idea about it, and then it moves, it comes up to, how do you say it, well, you have to walk against the stairs together, not only Fairbanks or Rosemary with Prince of Sneakers, because you have to do it together. And we found it in a partnership, and I'm really glad we did.
Can you share something of an epiphany or a lesson learned that you found out during that period?
The most important thing is that we decided to ask Matthijs to join the team. Because we can start discussions about sustainability, about positive impact. But for the Dutch listeners, there is a very nice saying: we heffen het glas, we doen een plas, en het is gebleven zoals het was. Which means that when you start a discussion, everybody is enthusiastic. After the discussion, you go on with your daily business, and that's what it is.
Everything stays the same.
Everything stays the same. And I think it was one moment I decided if we really want to move forward, we need to find a colleague who is busy with this topic, motivate colleagues, motivate the management team. And there is Matthijs together with Rosemary. They're working close together and helps the company to move forward. And I think that's one of my most important lesson learned is get a colleague invest time who can be responsible for it. And actually, Naturalis is doing the same with the green team. Create a green team because that will help. Because in your company, you discussed about estate, IT, etc., etc. So you have a group of several knowledge which is necessary within Naturalis. But within that team, you can motivate the colleagues. And I think, and I hope you agree with me, that that's the important part. Create a team, motivate the colleagues, because that's the way it works for us. And I think that's one of the lessons learned.
Okay. It feels a little bit like that it's obvious, right? That you need to spend time and invest to become more sustainable. So I guess one of the main reasons to do that is because there's a lot of work. There's a lot of things that needs to be researched. You need to do a lot of, find a lot of best practices in the world, but also learn a lot about your own organization. Does Fairbanks know what their main sustainability challenges is when they started this journey?
We didn't know yet.
No.
So if we talk about sustainability, it's all about scoping. So there's a lot of stuff we can do. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. But we started, the team of Fairbanks is very internally driven. But on the other hand, is also commercial driven organization. Like, it's also really good to do that. But what was one of the main questions that we also wanted to be answered was, what if we can solve world problems on a profitable way? And that was also, besides that we knew that Fairbanks was very internally motivated, we needed to find a way to also explain to the business of the company, like, where do we start and how do we start? So at that
was my first question.
First question, yeah. So also tip to the listeners at home is like, it's okay if you are looking for ways to also be profitable in a way. It's no secret to combine those two. And where we started there was to look at, for example, the world problems, where we also have an influence on a negative way. Then the industry itself, so which trends, innovations and disruptions are there, and how can we use those trends, and how can we learn, do the research, and then solve the problems in a way. We look at the organization itself, so for example, the SDGs. What kind of SDGs do we think fit most to our company, and how can we contribute? Also on the targets. So for example, it's very easy to just choose SDGs, but it's also really necessary to look at the targets and then decide how you're gonna contribute to the SDGs. And then the entrepreneur or the decision maker itself, because there needs to be a leader or some people who are creating the starting point, and then it was you in the beginning, and then there are different people in the team as well. But for example, you were very enthusiastic about the SDGs, and then further on in the journey, we also had a co-creation moment on the SDGs. So we, for example, asked the team to pitch an idea on how to contribute to the SDGs, and then we found so many, actually, also some input for the strategy itself, because the people in the company, they do know how the business works, what kind of business we do, and how we help our clients and partners with to be successful with doing infrastructure.
So it should be really part of your daily operations. So not only making time, but also integrated with what you do is the key to success?
Yeah, maybe Matthijs can say something about it, because if you have to repeat it, not day by day, but you have to be active. So that's what Matthijs is doing within our company.
Yeah, and I think we haven't mentioned it yet. I think what's really important is to set a goal over a period of time, and then evaluate every year how much you're doing better or worse, or which investment was a good one and which investment was maybe we should have put it more hours in something else. To learn from those to actually make the right steps. And as I said, like, it's important to know your own emissions, and it's important to figure out what our clients are, what their emissions are, and how we can help them. Because if you want to make impact as a company, or a positive impact as a company, the biggest way to do it is through your clients, because then your network, it grows out.
Do you have the feeling that sometimes you are also, maybe averse to the goals that Fairbanks has as a commercial company? Or have you not had that feeling up till now?
No, not at all. I think there is a commercial drive, but that was already with what we're doing. I think this really became an extra part of it. And for now, it's really the investment we're doing. And of course, we're thinking about commercial propositions over a period of time, that it's also going to be, that we can...
It's the only way to make it part of your day-to-day business.
Yeah. And like having the conversations here at the office, and as we mentioned already before, everyone is so engaged already that part is actually not difficult at all.
How is that for you, David? Does it feel different to work with a company like Fairbanks, which has the same sustainability drive as your own organization?
It certainly helps. I was happily surprised by hearing about the initiatives, because it kind of naturally fits my agenda in terms of, we run a private cloud, and that has a certain footprint, and we're now in the phase that we want to kind of get a feeling and some metrics about the impact of the IT we run.
Yeah.
And so it really helps that our existing partner and supplier is thinking about and investing energy and time in this subject.
Yeah, because it's also part of the way you select your suppliers right now, I guess.
Yeah, and that's not really part of it becomes more and more part of a more formal policy, but it certainly is a big criterion for selecting partners.
An easy way to make more impact if you make choices up front.
Yeah, sure.
No, but it's very interesting what you're saying, David. But if you look at Fairbanks, we are a commercial company. We have to make money. We have our shareholders, which is into the company. We are a commercial company, and we are looking for turnover. We're looking for profit. We can't say anything about it. But and we build private clouds. But if you build private clouds and you look at the technology, then it's based on open source. Then it's interesting, like the journey, maybe we can start within Naturalis, is if you look at infrastructure. Because if you own your data and you build your private cloud, you can also look at your own infrastructure, which means that if you, for instance, go to an hyperscaler, if they want to change the infrastructure, they're going to change the infrastructure. Because you want to have your uptime, you need your data. So if they say, okay, we have to change our infrastructure, we're going to change it. When you build your own private cloud, you can decide by saying, okay, we're not going to change it in 3 years or in 4 years, but we're going to keep it. And of course, you have to think about which data, which is on which machine, etc., etc. That's a technical discussion, which is not part of this discussion today. But that's the positive way if
Yeah.
you, and that's my philosophy as the owner of a company who builds private cloud, and say to the customer, there we can help you. We can help you think about create another data center with other technology, with a longer period of your infrastructure, and that really can bring something. Maybe Roos or Matthijs can say something about the costs of infrastructure and the impact.
You can control your own greenhouse gas emissions when you build your own private cloud.
That's
right?
as far as
Yeah,
I'm concerned. That's what it is because you own it.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit, Matthijs, about how you went around measuring the amount of greenhouse gases that are involved with those clouds?
Well, it went from literally for the clouds, you mean, or also like as the company?
Or as a company as a whole, I think probably there's some IT running here as well. So this should
Yeah,
probably-
you have the IT running and of course like the energy consumption and you have to know how many servers you're using. And every server has a certain impact or a certain emission while it has been produced and while it's running in the data centers. But also here I was like literally walking around and counting the amount of chairs and tables to just figure out like what emissions were totally made. And yeah, within the cloud, like all the codes and everything that's running to keep the infrastructure going costs a lot of energy, and then there are like smart ways to code it differently to make it more sustainable, that it costs less energy. So yeah, there's a lot of there's smart developments going on, and a lot of things get the word green in front of it, what I find a bit difficult sometimes because we cannot just call everything green. But the more we're reading about it, there are actually really smart tools being developed to make it actually more green and more sustainable.
Was it hard to find out the amount of emissions that were involved with the Fairbanks group?
I mean, well, for us as a company, we don't use that many servers.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the service we sell and the service we lend is then it's not our own like infrastructure anymore. It's from the other's company, so it's their emission.
Mm-hmm.
But it still has an effect because it's still a service we sell. So that part is really difficult, and I have to say we haven't figured that out yet. But to calculate it for ourselves wasn't too difficult, because in the end, the data centers, they know how much energy is being used, they know how much heat is being used, they know how much extra energy has to go to cooling down, heating, whatsoever. And then you have a data center. We recently switched to data centers, so that's also where we learned from how much energy actually a server is using if it's not even running anything. Because there's always this transition phase, and in the transition phase we saw that at our old data center, we used quite a lot of energy while actually the servers weren't doing anything or not much anymore. So from that it's come back to insights, and that's where we learn a lot from.
And the life cycle assessment.
And the for sure, life cycle assessment is something we're gonna do also ourselves. But
what is it? A life cycle assessment?
Well, you have the production of a product where it starts from resources that needs to come from somewhere, that needs to be transported to a certain
steel or silicon or stuff like
whatsoever.
that.
And you need energy for the production or the transport. It has emissions. Then you have the production of the product itself, and then afterwards you have the usage phase. And actually also what you can do with the product after you're not using it yourself anymore, and to create insight in the amount of emissions and like the impact a product itself makes on the environment is the whole life cycle, where it starts with the resources that are coming from somewhere until the end of life of a product.
So are you doing a life cycle assessment for all the chairs and all the tables and stuff like that?
No. I think if we would start selling chairs, we might do it.
Okay.
But since we are, we need servers to be able to deliver our service.
To run your service. Yeah.
We're gonna do it on one of the servers we've been using in our old data center. and that's literally just unplugging the whole thing, de-screwing, is that a word? Unscrewing.
Taking it apart. Yeah.
Take everything apart, see what metals there are in, what parts, plastics, and then...
Isn't this available for this server already?
No, I mean, I think that it's already been done, but it's not available.
Okay.
Dell recently shared a life cycle assessment of one of their servers, but as far as I know, that's the first complete life cycle of a server that's available. Of course, in certain databases, information is available about maybe certain chips that's being used for servers, etc. But like a complete life cycle hasn't been done yet.
No, but even if the data available, even if the data is available, it's interesting to do it by yourself, because that will help you, your company, your colleagues to learn about, okay, this is what it means when we want to build a server. It's so easy to buy one. It's so easy to go to a hyperscaler with your credit card and say, click, 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 I'm going to build my cloud based on Kubernetes. It's so easy.
It's also about responsibility. So it's not, as Matthijs already mentioned, we have a service. So we use some service for ourselves, but we help our partners and clients to do better in infrastructure. But it is also our responsibility as an industry to also know what is going on in those servers, and also to just not only help our partners with this, but also share this knowledge with the industry. Exactly. And this is, for example, the reason why we are sharing this webinar, because I think it's very important to share knowledge on forehand, also if we don't have all the answers yet, or the one solution, but...
And it's also, I think, a part of being transparent about it. Because,
exactly.
I mean, the whole term cloud... It's kind of a mythical thing. Makes computing kind of a mystical thing. Like it's running somewhere and it's actual hardware, and it consists of components that indeed come from mines with a certain impact. And I think it's important for people to be aware of the impacts, to have this reconnection again with hardware, basically.
Yeah. Maybe it's a bit of a stupid question, but it feels like if everybody would be serious about finding out what their footprint is, then they need to know the life cycle assessments for the core products that they are using.
Yeah.
And if that's not available, then it feels like we're a bit at the beginning of understanding the footprint that organizations have.
That's very much true. So measurement is like very important for starting with sustainability, because we need to know what are your emissions, and in what way are you contributing in a negative way, and how can you also contribute more positive. So measuring your impact is for sure the starting point. And what I also wanted to mention is that starting a lifecycle assessment has like different steps. So for example, for us as Fairbanks, it's about the server, because we use a server ourselves, but also we help our partners with this. So we need a product definition about what kind of lifecycle assessment we are doing. Second step is about the inventory. Like what you are saying, you need to break down the whole server to actually get a better understanding of what the server is all about. Then you, when the inventory is done, you do the assessment itself. So you're going to link all the emissions kind of variations through the parts of the server itself. And then fourth actually, last step is all about implementation and like inventarization. What are we going to do with this information? And what we know is that, for example, Dell shared their lifecycle assessment, but a lot of server owners, they don't share this kind of knowledge because it's very competitor sensitive. So I think also for us as a business helping other partners and helping the industry, it's also our responsibility to share this knowledge about servers, not only for ourselves, but also to help other people, help other companies to get a better understanding and knowing where to start.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, can I add one more thing?
Sure.
Because I think what's a bit of the scare around servers is that actually half of the impact is already made at the moment of production.
Yeah.
And then using a server for 4 years, 5 years, depends a bit on the industry standards. And I think the standards are going up already. Like there was an interesting talk about from Wout and Vido from 421 on the CEFLACon, where they were talking about how that we actually should make the server life cycle longer because the impact is already in the first production phase. And I think that's also for other companies that they're not sharing the information yet.
Okay. For our organization, we obviously use less server capacity, but we use a lot of laptops. Is the life cycle assessment for that kind of technology already available?
Some companies do that.
Yeah.
But I think a more general point would be I think that you can also work with estimates. If the information is not available for any specific or your specific server, you have to start somewhere. And I think extending the life of hardware you don't need a really scientific report on the life cycle assessment. And I think a strategy could also be, as an industry, that you demand those life cycle assessments by your suppliers, because I think it's a good effort to do it yourself, to also be more aware of what this actually consists of. But it's also a matter of selecting the suppliers that actually provide those details and work on that part as well, because that industry needs to change as well. So that might be a way to have impact if you pressure a bit that part of the industry, that more.
That will be done because they start this year by the board of directors. They have to report in their financials, in their annual reports, what they do about impact as a company. First, the very big companies, and then so in a couple of years, everybody is involved as a board of directors, where they have to show what they do within their company. So I believe there will be a way that we can start more discussions about it, but why not today?
Yes. Okay. So it is all about not only looking at your own footprint, but also making investment decisions at your partners that are also supporting your mission, right?
Well, so first do your own house. Like first know what are your own emissions, and then if you are starting with this, then also find partnerships, because we know that if you collaborate with others, you are faster by getting into the goals, for example, sustainability goals. Yeah.
So what was for Naturalis the biggest thing that you changed when you started to look at your own footprint?
Well, the biggest change in the last couple of years has been our building, I guess. We're now in a A++ building. So we actually have too much heat. We heat the building now with heat pumps. It's we don't use any gas anymore. So that was a big change because we have a huge collection.
Of course.
And lately, the last year, we've had an energy coach helping us with running that part of the organization. And another big part is our restaurant is going to be fully vegetarian. That's going to be for the public, mostly public-facing change. That's in terms of emissions, that's important, but also in terms of biodiversity, it's going to change. So that's 2 examples, I think.
Dave, do you also, as Naturalis, help, for example, places where they are building houses or other buildings to make sure that the biodiversity is safe there? Is it also something that Naturalis is doing? Because
some of my colleagues give advice to local councils or some projects, indeed, in terms of biodiversity impact.
Because I can imagine that, for example, the data centers who will increasing in the future, they also need to be placed somewhere, and biodiversity will get lost in the places where they need to build. So I can imagine.
Yeah, an example was with KPN. A project was to they have these small parts of the infrastructure where they in the neighborhoods. A design was developed in collaboration with Naturalis, which was kind of biodiversity positive. So we are collaborating with different partners. So yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay. And for Fairbanks, what was the eye opener for you guys around the amount of about the footprint that you have?
The eye opener. I mean, that there are a lot of ways to either reduce it or compensate.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I think that's like some emissions you make as a company are necessary. For example, our server usage is like we need it. We need our infrastructure and we need to help other people. Otherwise, we need servers to be able to help our clients.
Mm-hmm.
So that emission is something we make, and we can't reduce it. I mean, we can maybe work smarter with the use or the amount of servers. But then if there are emissions you can't reduce, then there's always a way to compensate. And I think that keeps the hope that it's not like that it's actually possible to have to make a positive impact as a company.
Okay.
Oh, but it was surprising for us that 50% of the server is already. If you talk about sustainability, 50% is already gone by using all the energy out of all the materials, etc., etc.
Yeah, the production of
So,
the server.
for the production of the server. So that was for me one of the eye openers where I'm saying, okay, this thrives me more in communicate our solution based on private cloud. Because there we can really make positive impact, and that for me was really an eye opener.
But I think I could think of more examples of having an impact. For example, you could that was already said, extend the lifetime of hardware, so that's a way. But also the number of servers with clients, you could influence that. For example, the minimum size of a cluster, there's technological kind of limitations to that because you need a certain number of servers. But it would reduce the number of total servers you're using if you could more easily extend the cluster, and Fairbanks could help with that, of course.
Correct.
Stuff like that.
And that's what we are. That's what we are discussing. That's what when we started. I'm interested to talk with Naturalis about it, because if you know, and that's one of the lessons learned, if you know what the impact is for us, if you specific talk about hardware, and you can, and then you find out, wow, this is really this costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
How can we extend the life cycle of that product? That's interesting, and of course open source. That's one of the reasons we decided to work with open source technology, because one of the ideas of open source is working closely together to build the platform. And if you look at that part of it, you can work together in partnerships to find out what software can bring with less hardware and the extension of the life cycle. Yeah, then you really can think about positive impact, as far as I'm concerned.
So you've implemented a lot of improvements. I know there's also a more green lunch. You're working more distributed, and you have also several decisions you've made here around the office to reduce that. But the biggest win was the amount of capacity that you use and that you help your customers reduce, I guess.
To start a discussion with the customers. I travel a lot. I speak with a lot of CEOs of other companies, customers, partnerships, and everybody is interested in positive impact and sustainability. But then it starts with, we can, part of our data center at night, we don't use servers. But as far as I'm concerned, that's not enough. So you have to do more, and there it starts with partnerships. Talk about, and we don't have the solution today, and maybe not tomorrow, but we started with it, and it's a journey. That's what we want to talk about today. It's just a journey. We aren't there yet. We start internally. We have our help from Rosemary. Matthijs is one of the colleagues who's really busy with how to face internally, speak with the colleagues about it. What are you doing at home? What can we do here in the office? As you said, talk about lunch, talk about usage, talk about driving cars, electric cars, etc., etc. Using the train. That's one of the reasons we have this office here, because there's a train station just in the opposite. And hopefully that will help and will be part of my legacy because I'm the oldest here in this group, and so legacy is an important thing.
Yeah, and also talking about like complexity and control, because we know that if we are the problems and the challenges that we are facing within the sustainability environment, it can be very complex, and that is also something which is within the solutions that Fairbanks is offering. It's also very complex, and also if you combine those two, like infrastructure and sustainability. So this is also that the people within Fairbanks, they like to solve those complex issues and give back control to the partners. And that's also something that we want to do within the sustainability area. So not only within the infrastructure, but also sustainability, because talking about legacy, talking about like what is the value that we want to deliver to our partners, but also to the world. It's not only revenue. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, an example I would think of right now is helping. It's also insights, but you're managing the infrastructure, but you can help us also give more insight in what actually runs and in what actually uses energy on the platform, because that helps us deciding, is this actually necessary, and reduce the. So that would be a really useful.
Interesting.
It's where we are busy with.
Yeah.
We are busy with, but the when you really want to do that, now we are managing the platform of the customers. If you want to do that, you have to bring one of our software into the platform of the customer. Which can be difficult sometimes, but that will help to get that information.
I think it's safe to conclude that everybody's journey is not finished yet. And as you promised to build this journey in public, Ruud, you'll definitely have to come back and do another webinar with us, maybe even more. Maybe it will even turn into a podcast, but I think
a podcast. What that means every
2 weeks.
Okay.
No, whatever you want. But thank you all for sharing. I think that it's clear that this journey cannot be journeyed alone, right? You need to work together. You can make the most impact when you work together. So if you want to join our journey in some way, we're all open to sharing what we know and what we're doing, and I think that's the key takeaway.
Yeah,
right?
let I take it for myself. I really appreciate when the listeners think about, this is what I heard. This is what we are talking about. Let's start a discussion. Send me an email. Maybe we can do a joint venture together with Naturalis to talk about partnerships, because I think this is the start of our journey, and I'm pretty sure there are a lot of customers who are already on the road of this journey.
Of course.
And I'm really interested in their journeys.
I think everybody is struggling with this topic, or experiencing the topic, and many hands make light work is another Dutch saying. So let's join hands and make it a better solution for us all. Thank you all for listening, if you have any more questions or contact us, just drop your email in line, and we'll get back to you. Thank you very much. Thank you all, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.